Hello and welcome to another edition of Currently in Quincy. I'm Joe Catalano. On today's program, we will get all the details about this year's 85th annual Quincy Bay Race Week that's coming up in July. First, though, as always, we check out the weather and the news for you. Currently in Quincy, 79 degrees with some hazy sunshine out there. Today will turn out to be partly cloudy and warm with highs in the low 80s. Nice night this evening. Should be more comfortable than in previous nights. Lows will drop off tonight into the lower 60s, and kind of a carbon copy to welcome in July 1st tomorrow with a mix of sun and clouds, and highs tomorrow again in the lower 80s. A little more unsettled here on Sunday. Pretty good chance for some afternoon showers with highs Sunday again in the lower 80s, and things stay unsettled into Monday with scattered afternoon thunderstorms. Warm and humid on Monday. Highs in the low 80s, and the 4th of July and Tuesday looks to be about the same. Chance for some storms and highs in the low 80s. Again, 79 degrees in Quincy under partly sunny skies right now. Checking out news for you today, Quincy Mayor Thomas Koch says he believes the city is complying with a state law that requires a certain amount of transit-oriented development around MBTA stations.
Yeah, I mean, there's a requirement under the law for communities with the T to do more for development around the T stations. It really doesn't apply to us because we're already doing those things, Joe. I mean, the Bozzuto project in North Quincy was a perfect example of taking an 8-acre asphalt parking lot and turning into homes for people, along with some retail use, which created jobs, created homes for people because we have a shortage in the greater Boston area, and of course pays taxes, pays lease to the T, pays taxes to the city. So we'll be seeing more of that around the Wollaston T and certainly around the Quincy Adams T going forward. Quincy Center Station is marked for some major improvements to the station, essentially rebuilding that station before we'll see substantial development around that station. But it kind of goes hand in hand because the improvements may include some of the necessary requirements for the development. So the city's been pretty active and robust on the TOD stuff anyway. So, what the state's encouraging, we're already doing.
At a recent city council meeting, city solicitor Jim Timmons said the city was eyeing creating some new zoning within a 50-acre area around the Quincy Adams T station that would allow for the creation of new multifamily housing. The city would have to create over 10,000 new housing units to comply with the law. City Council President Noel DeBona said the council will be discussing transit-oriented developments with members of the state legislative delegation at a meeting in September. The state has accepted Quincy's preliminary plan for transit-oriented development, but a final plan must be submitted by the end of the year. The first of 9 free performances at the Ruth Gordon Amphitheater in Quincy this summer will take place tonight. The Friends of the Ruth Gordon Amphitheater have organized a series that they call Friends Fridays, with events on Friday nights right through August 25th. The group's spokesperson, Sarah Trainer-Callard, says that hundreds of people came together after learning that the city was planning to dismantle the amphitheater.
You know, our core group
yes.
who really worked hard to save this place.
Yep.
I feel indebted, I think we all feel indebted to people like Kathy Nason and Helene Sansui, who really were, Laurie Earle and Maria Mulligan. This group has really been the force that kind of brought us all together. So I hate to, I always try to, thank people because I know that I've kind of become like the leader of the gang, I guess you could say. But I would not be here talking to you right now if it weren't for the hard work of all of those people.
Callard says the city has supported their efforts to bring performances back to the amphitheater by allocating $10,000 in the budget, although she has yet to receive a long-term commitment from the city about the future of that venue. And the events kick off tonight with an open mic night. Other highlights this year include a Beatles tribute band, Quincy-based bands, and a tribute to Ruth Gordon, which will feature her grandson and great-grandson. Well, veterans and veteran supporters all gathered recently for the annual Korean War Memorial Ceremony in Quincy. Quincy Veterans Services hosted that event last Saturday to remember the 70th anniversary of the armistice that ended that war and the 73rd anniversary of the start of that war. The guest speaker, John Jake Comer, the past national commander of the American Legion, said what is sometimes called the Forgotten War actually played a pivotal role in stopping the spread of communism.
Today we can look at nighttime satellite images and see the effect of a Korean peninsula divided by two extremely different ideologies. South Korea glows with light, energy, and opportunity. North Korea remains dark and lifeless, a stark illustration of the difference between freedom and oppression. That division between the South and the North is a constant reminder of why the Korean War mattered at the time we fought there, and still matters today. The Korean War is certainly not forgotten by American families whose loved ones were sent into that harsh landscape and fought deadly battles. Through frigid waters and scorching summers, far from home. More than 54,000 U.S. military men and women lost their lives during the Korean War. They never had a chance to fulfill their great American dream, and so many Americans have done, as so many Americans have done over the decades. They sacrificed all of their tomorrows for those of us here today.
Comer also spoke about the establishment of a scholarship fund by South Korean electronics giant Samsung back in 1995, which has grown to $7 million. That ceremony was held at the Central Middle School due to the rain. However, a wreath-laying presentation did take place after the ceremony at the Korean War Memorial right across the street at Marymount Park. Well, a black bear was spotted in Quincy this week. An officer on patrol captured this video at about 11:30 Tuesday night right behind the BJ's Warehouse store on Crown Colony Drive over in West Quincy. Now, police say anybody spotting this bear should report it to them. Animal specialists say bears should be left alone. They advise people to remove any food sources from their property to avoid any confrontation with that animal. 21 volunteers with Interfaith Social Services of Quincy were recently inducted into their Maddie Lang Volunteer Hall of Fame. The volunteers were honored during an annual volunteer appreciation night that was held recently at the Quincy Masonic Lodge on Greenleaf Street. There are over 140 volunteers that help Interfaith operate their food pantry and thrift shop. Volunteers also assist at Interfaith's annual fundraising events, including the Stop the Stigma 5K road race and their Feed the Hungry Gala. The Volunteer Appreciation Night featured food from Black's Creek Barbecue and Kate's Confections, and also a lively game of Singo. Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection recently recognizing the Quincy Water Department for their outstanding service. The agency said that the Quincy Water System achieved one of the top scores in their Public Water Systems Awards program. During a State House ceremony, Senator John Keenan presented that citation to Water Department employees Chris Newton, Sean Brennan, and Mark Villapando. The department was praised for protecting and supplying safe and fit water to the citizens of Quincy. It's our check of news for you today. Coming up, we sit down with Paul Lewis and get all the details about this year's Quincy Bay Race Week events. That's next. Welcome back. In the not-too-distant future, Quincy Bay will be dotted with all different sizes and shapes of sailing vessels for the 85th annual Quincy Bay Race Week. It's coming up the weekend of July 15th and 16th this year. Paul Lewis from the Quincy Bay Race Week Association is back with us again this year to give us all the details. Paul, great to see you again.
Good to see you, Joe. Thanks for having me.
Oh, pleasure as always. When you come to the studio, I say it really is summer. It has officially arrived.
You can tell by the tan.
That's right. That's right. Well, I was thinking about this morning. It's the 85th annual this
It
year,
is.
right? So
Amazing.
37, 38 is when it kind of all started to come
Yep.
together. It's one of the great old traditions of Quincy. You know, we always talk on this program a lot about all the new things. Hancock Adams Common, Kilroy Square, and those are great, you know, and all the new developments. But this is a tradition that's lasted in Quincy for a very long time.
It sure is a
Yeah.
tradition. It's brought a lot of clubs and a lot of people together over many, many years over one common goal, competitiveness and sailing and a love of the water.
Yes,
So
yeah.
it's a pretty amazing thing that is endured over all these years. I was just sitting out there thinking before we got in here, and you know, we've only missed 2 years of racing with Quincy Bay Race Week. World War World War II, I'm sorry, and COVID.
Oh,
So for all those other years and all those summers, people have enjoyed being out on the water and enjoying Quincy Bay and what that means to them.
yeah, it's a great, great tradition. And for folks who aren't aware, there are a lot of new people, you know, that come into the city, certainly. We should give them a little history lesson, I guess, about Race Week and how it all started.
Sure. So back 85 years ago,
Yeah.
86 years ago, a group of people got together and said, we want to be able to provide significant, serious competition in sailing on the South Shore. A lot of the big sailing regattas were up on the North Shore, Marblehead and that area.
Is that because the fishing industry was so strong up there, do you know?
Yeah,
or-
I
That's just
think
where it
it was
started?
just where the boat building took place,
okay.
and there wasn't a lot of sailboat building. I that's my impression of what it was.
Okay.
And people had to trek all the way up there to race, and they said, "Why can't we be sailing right here
We have
in our
water here,
local
too."
waters?"
Yeah.
Right? Quincy's perfect with all the coastline that they have and the beautiful scenery, and Quincy Bay is a spectacular place to sail. So those groups of people got together and said, "How can we incorporate racing down here?"
Okay.
And Quincy Bay was born back then,
Yeah.
and in that spirit of competitiveness and a love of the water.
Yeah, and it has endured. really
It sure has.
endured, yeah.
It sure has.
How many yacht clubs are involved in the association today?
There's 8 yacht clubs involved with Quincy Bay Race Week. It's Squantum Yacht Club, Wollaston Yacht. I got to count.
Yeah.
Squantum, Wollaston, Quincy, South Shore Yacht Club, Wessagusset, Braintree, Metropolitan, and Town River.
Okay. So
And they're all
of them.
involved, yeah.
Yeah. Has it been that way since the start, do you know?
It has. Some clubs have come and gone,
Yeah.
but like last year we were talking about incorporating a conversation with Hull. That hasn't come to fruition, but we still have a relationship with other clubs. Those people from those clubs come down and sail at Quincy Bay,
Really?
and our kids and our adults who sail in Quincy Bay go to those other regattas that
Okay.
are hosted by other clubs.
So, and that really is the bigger picture when we're talking about the Race Week Association, is the camaraderie, right, between the clubs. There's healthy competition, yes, but there's also camaraderie and friendships, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
That's the name of the game. That's our second part of the mission.
Right.
The competitive spirit is the first part, but camaraderie amongst the clubs. We have a brotherhood and a sisterhood
Right.
amongst each other's clubs. We meet throughout the year.
Yeah.
We meet monthly throughout the year.
Yep.
We take a break off around Christmas in January, and but we're right back at to the planning stages. We're right after the finish of this year. We'll begin next year's planning. So we're meeting constantly, and we rotate amongst the different clubs these meetings. So we get to meet each other. We get to know each other. We get to know what a particular club struggle is at
Yes.
a particular time, and we work together to kind of help remedy some of those struggles
Yeah.
or barriers to whatever that might be coming up.
Right, yeah, the sailing community really is a tight-knit community, isn't it?
They are,
Yeah,
they are.
boaters in general.
Yeah.
And again, it harkens back to, you know, one of the great tenets of the founding of this city, right? Was the marine past that it was founded on.
Yeah, really is incredible.
And boat building, you know, that started back in Squantum, right? And has proceeded up until, you know, just the recent past recently.
yeah, with the
because
shipyard.
when Race Week first started, folks had to build their own boats, didn't they?
Yep. So a lot of the boats that are still sailed today,
Yeah.
Thunderbirds and Hustlers,
Yeah.
they were built in people's backyards and garages
Wow.
and driveways. We just had the passing of Bud Welsh, who was 101. He built a lot of the turnabouts and the Hustlers that are in the fleet today, still today.
Really?
Yeah, and he
Wow.
just passed this week.
Okay. Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Oh.
Tuesday.
Okay.
It was Tuesday night.
Wow.
That's a big loss for us, but that's what it was. That's how boats were made.
Right.
People didn't have money; they were scraping together,
Yes.
to feed their families. But they could get a couple pieces of wood together and slap on some paint, and they were out sailing in Quincy Bay.
Well, I mean, 37, 38, we're just coming off the Great Depression, right? So everybody was kind of at a level playing field with not a whole lot to spare.
And all of the resources that went to help fund the war, too.
Right, right.
So they were built in garages and backyards and driveways.
Yeah. Making it accessible to everybody, right? There's sometimes this misconception that boating is only for the elite, but not when it comes to Quincy Bay Raceway.
Not to Quincy Bay. Yeah,
Exactly.
We have the Bare Bones boat, but beautiful boats. The Hustlers are beautiful colors. They're boats that are part of Quincy Bay Race Week. Generally, are named after bees, so all the boats' names are bee names. So Bombardier and all these other cool names.
Oh, the letter B.
Yeah,
Okay.
the letter B.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why
so-
is that, Paul?
I think it began. I don't know particularly what the reason why, but what my understanding is that there's patches of these boats that because it was a kit, and they're up on the North Shore and they're down the Cape area and they're around here, and that's how they get distinguished
Oh, all right. Oh,
by
interesting.
how they're named and
Okay. So you know that if it begins with a B, it's from
from this
this
area.
area.
Correct.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. You yourself started as a young sailor, right, in Quincy Bay Race Week?
11 years old,
Yeah.
started sailing a turnabout. My friend Pat Breen was able to get a boat, and we went out there and we learned how to sail out of Squantum Yacht Club. And that's where my love of the water and sailing and racing took off.
Yeah.
It really has been a privilege to be able to be part of a boating community, and to be able to be on the water during the summer is a really special thing. And there's so much access to the waters nowadays,
Right.
especially in Quincy.
Yep.
There's ways to get out on the water, many, many, many different ways, whether it's a paddleboard, a kayak, jumping on someone's boat. Some of the clubs are doing some adult sailing programs that are available to people that don't have to be a member of a yacht club.
And don't need a boat, right?
Don't need a boat.
Yeah.
They can access sailing in the water and the clubs just by coming in and asking and saying hello.
That's great. So, well, I know the Quincy Recreation Department's sailing program is still hugely popular every single year. They've got a new, the Ryan Boathouse is relatively new now, and you can see Blacks Creek from Pageant Field now, so it's much more accessible.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, and it's very, very popular. And do you get sailors that have come through that program?
We do.
Yeah.
We do. We do. We extended an invitation quite some time ago to the Quincy Rec, and Barry Welsh was very instrumental in getting a group of sailors that were contained in
Right.
Blacks Creek, and it's a big undertaking.
Yes.
The city had to provide the staff to get the boats out of the water, bring them
Exactly.
over and put them in the water, but the kids really enjoy that, and they sail the Widgeons, and we have a particular class on the inside line for those kids who come over.
Okay.
And just another side note is,
Yes.
once I got some footing in sailing, I was able to teach sailing at the Ryan Boathouse
didn't
when I
know
was
that.
a kid too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So Barry Welsh was very good to me when I was a youngster, and giving me the opportunity to build on my leadership skills
Oh, nice
at a
to
very
hear.
young age.
Yeah.
So I look fondly back at those days. We had a little trailer back then,
Yeah.
and all the gear went into that trailer and locked up, and then we
Right.
had a little like a business construction trailer
Yeah.
that was housing the the staff and
Yeah.
everything. So
Kinda
it's a beautiful
rudimentary.
place.
Yeah,
Yep,
it's-
beautiful place now.
It's come a long way, yeah, no question for that. So you're talking, you're mentioning inside lines and turnabouts, and let's talk about the specifics of Quincy Bay Race Week. It's July 15th and 16th, so it's a
Correct.
two-day event. Is that a weekend?
It is
So
Saturday and Sunday.
Okay.
Registration starts at Squantum Yacht Club Friday night, 6 to 9 o'clock, and then it will go into Saturday morning, and then the racing will start. Racing is out of Squantum Yacht Club for both days.
Okay. Which is right behind you, by the way.
Yep, great shot. Great shot. Life member of Squantum Yacht Club.
Is that
so,
right? Okay.
it's a great shout out for the club.
Sure.
But we have 2 days of racing this year because of the tides. There's just we have to really play the tides with everything going on. So it's been reduced from the normal 4 days this year to 2 days.
Oh, okay.
So that's why it's at Squantum Yacht Club, just to accommodate the crowd for both days. So we're going to be sailing the inside line and outside line, which is unusual because usually we have Thursday, Friday for the outside line, and then Saturday, Sunday for the, Thursday and Friday for the inside line, and then Saturday, Sunday for the outside line.
Okay.
This year being contained within these 2 days,
yeah.
we're going to have the mix of young sailors and adult sailors. So it's going to be a really nice mix. And then with the award ceremony on Sunday, the youngsters will be able to see where their path is going to
Sure.
be.
Yeah.
Where they could end up sailing, the bigger boats. What's after they get out of sailing their Optimists
Yeah.
or their N10s or their 420s or their lasers. There's a next step, which is the Hustlers and the Thunderbirds. And this year we have the Stars coming for the outside line.
Okay, and
which
these
is,
are all different classes of boats.
these are different classes
Okay.
of boats. To answer your question, but about the different classes.
Yeah,
yes.
so it's based on what size and crew members?
Size, age.
Okay.
For the younger kids, it's based on age and how big you are. An Optimist is a single-handed sailing boat, so that's anywhere from like 8 to 12, maybe 13. Turnabout's a two-person sailing, so you have the skipper and then a crew. Lasers are single-handed, and then you have 420s, which is 2 people.
Okay.
So a skipper and a crew.
Okay.
So it depends on your technical level and how you want to sail. Do you sail by yourself, or do you want someone to sail with you?
Okay. Are there qualifiers before this happens, Paul? No. So
No.
anybody can just participate?
Anyone can participate.
Okay.
Any skill level. We have an entry-level position. It's called a green fleet for the younger kids. That's for anyone who is a first-year sailor, or if that's your first regatta.
Oh,
You
all right.
can qualify for a green fleet position, and that gives you some ability to compete against your same level. You're not going out against someone who's been sailing for 5 years.
Right. Yeah, you want to encourage folks
exactly.
to continue with the tradition, right, and keep going through the classes. You don't want to discourage them; they may not do it again.
Exactly,
Yeah.
right.
So you mentioned inside line, outside line. What exactly does that mean? There's actually a line in the water, right, that they follow. It's part of the race course.
That's the race course. The line is called the race course,
Yeah.
yep. So there's a starting line and a finish line, and there's a race course. So depending on the weather and the conditions of the wind, it could be a triangle, it could be what we call a sausage, where you go up and down,
Oh,
just
okay.
go back and forth.
Yeah.
But generally it's a triangle where you can take advantage of the different angles of the wind.
Interesting. Okay. It's right in Quincy Bay. So where's a good vantage point to watch Quincy Bay Race Week?
Anywhere from the clam box down to the clubs.
Okay.
The best spot would be between the clubs, to the left of Squantum Yacht Club or to the right of Wollaston Yacht Club.
Okay.
The younger kids, the inside line, generally sail off of the pocket of the hummocks, which is right going into Squantum, and the adults usually sail out in the main part of the bay, the basin, Fenno Street, off of Fenno Street. So the entire Wollaston Beach coastline you can see, take advantage of it.
Basically with the naked eye too, right? You don't
Yep.
need
Very close.
binoculars.
Yep,
they're
very close.
Right there. About how many sailors do you expect this year?
We typically get about 80 sailors.
Okay.
Yep, 80 sailors. 60 to 90 boats.
Okay.
That's a good year for us.
Okay.
That's what our expectation is for this year.
Excellent.
Yeah.
You mentioned the award ceremony as well. So do they get an actual trophy or medal or?
Yep.
Yes, they do.
First, second, and third
Okay.
get an award, a trophy
For each
for each class.
Okay.
Yep. So turnabouts, there's red and blue, and then there's green, white, red for opties, and then so it's first three.
First three? Okay.
Yeah.
We close on time here, but I want to mention the fact that Quincy Bay Race Week Association provides scholarships every year, right?
Yep, they do. So we're a nonprofit organization. We became a 501(c) last year.
Oh, okay.
So we receive donations through a yearbook, and people can take out ads for our yearbook, and that's our major funding source.
Yes.
And because we have that ability to have and give back, we do a scholarship. This year we're doing 4 scholarships, $1,000 and 3 $500 scholarships for members or grandparents' members' children,
Yes.
grandchildren or children of those 8 clubs.
It's wonderful. So
Yeah,
again, to keep
it's
the
great.
tradition of giving back. Yeah. I wish you a successful regatta again this year, Paul. Thank you so much for coming over.
Thank you. That was very quick.
It goes quick, I know.
I appreciate it.
Oh, it's our pleasure.
Great time. I love coming in here.
Thank you. We love having you too.
All right, good.
We hope the
Thanks,
weather
Joe.
will cooperate too for
It will.
Race Week.
Always sunny.
It's like it's going to be this, well, today anyway. Lots of sunshine, a few clouds, lower 80s. We will do it again tomorrow. Sunday looks a little iffy with afternoon showers and some storms around here. On Monday, it's a very summer-like weather forecast. Thanks again to Paul Lewis for joining us from Quincy Bay Race Week Association.
Thanks, Joe.
Thanks to our crew. Thank you for watching. We're off on Monday for the Independence Day holiday. Next Friday, Cynthia Sierra from Manat Community Health Center will be our guest. Meantime, check out our website, qatv.org. All our programs are there. There's news and information, video on demand, live streaming, and more. For all of us here at QATV, I'm Joe Catalano. Have a happy 4th of July.